Today marks 1 year since Andrew Cuomo resigned as New York's governor after multiple accusations of sexual harassment against women surfaced. As Greg Floyd reports tonight, there have been a number of calls for accountability in the wake of the former governor's departure.
It was a day that shook the New York political world to its core. Facing the very real possibility of impeachment in the New York State Legislature, then Governor Andrew Cuomo announced his resignation on August 10th, 2021.
The best way I can help now is if I step aside and let government get back to governing. And therefore, that's what I'll do.
It came 1 week after a bombshell report from Attorney General Letitia James detailing 11 allegations of sexual harassment and misconduct. Brittany Camiso was a staffer who said the governor groped her in the executive mansion.
And I remember him shutting the door and coming back saying, "I don't care." And it wasn't like a, it was like, "I don't care." Like, it was like in this, like, at that moment, he was sexually driven. And I could tell.
At the same time, there was another major scandal staring Cuomo in the face, the debacle that was COVID-19 and nursing homes in New York State. The governor's administration issued an order on March 25th of 2020 that nursing homes could not turn away COVID-positive patients. Thousands of patients in those homes then died of COVID-19. And as that was happening, Cuomo and his staff did all they could to play down and even cover up the death numbers, refusing to do what other states did and include in the nursing home death toll patients who were transferred to a hospital and died there. People from both sides of the aisle have long been frustrated that Cuomo has not specifically been held accountable for all that. I caught up with former Governor George Pataki in Schenectady this week.
Because from the beginning, the concept of putting COVID-positive patients in nursing homes that were unprepared to handle them and had the most vulnerable population in the state made no sense.
And as Cuomo and his health department were not coming clean with the nursing home numbers, he was being paid $5 million for his pandemic memoir, touting his leadership during the crisis. There were allegations of wrongdoing there as well. A state assembly investigation found the governor used state resources and state employees to help him write that book, the staffers offering their assistance while on the clock and being paid for by you, the taxpayer, at least according to assembly investigators. Cuomo's replacement, Governor Kathy Hochul, has said she wants a review of the pandemic response, but now, a year later, nothing has happened.
Would you want to see an investigation done into what happened?
Absolutely. I think the goal is to prevent it from happening again. What mistakes were made, why were they made, and how can we avoid having that happen again? So I think investigating it is extremely important.
Andrew Cuomo offered apologies for some things that happened and denials for others.
Thank you for the honor of serving you. It has been the honor of my lifetime. God bless you.
In some ways, that seems like it was a lifetime ago. 2 weeks after that speech, Cuomo officially left office.
It's a trend that continues to get worse from the shadows as the coronavirus and monkeypox viruses take most of the attention. Good evening, everyone. I'm Megan Coleman.
And I'm Amanda Hull. Last year, for the first time, more than 100,000 Americans died of opioid overdoses. It's a number that's increasing and mirrored in our community, with a 20% jump in opioid-related deaths between 2020 and 2021. Officials telling us there's no sign of the number dropping this year, sometimes because the victims don't realize what they're putting their bodies through.
We have people who are purchasing pills they think are legitimate pharmaceuticals. They are nearly identical to what you would get if you got the script from a pharmacy. And what they're actually receiving is a mixture of substances, often containing fentanyl.
Tonight, we continue to ask questions about why this epidemic seems to only be getting worse. Alora Lagarde joins us live with continuing coverage tonight. Alora?
Amanda and Megan, despite just receiving just over $3.7 million of funding from the state, the opioid crisis in Onondaga County is only getting worse, leaving local lawmakers and advocates in a state of frustration.
The rise of the opioid epidemic hits close to home here in central New York. On Tuesday, the Onondaga County Health Department reported they see overdose death rates just as high this year as it was in 2020, when there were 156 deaths, and in 2021, 186 deaths.
Addiction is a disease. If we don't respond to it, our numbers are still going to continue to go up.
County legislator Peggy Chase says she doesn't think we can ever put too much money into helping resolve an epidemic the Heroin Epidemic Action League president Lone Furcano says has never ended.
This problem is affecting everybody, every single human being in our country, everyone. If you're not directly affected, you're indirectly affected by this.
Both Furcano and Chase say there are many options for care for potential overdose victims. But if we're spending more and more tax dollars on this issue, there's one place in particular where that money needs to go.
What's missing is the treatment. We need to be able to latch onto these folks and get them into treatment. And in some cases, that means spending a lot of time with them. You can't do it in 20 days.
One of the things with treatment that we need is we need it now.
Just last week, Onondaga County Executive Ryan McMahon's $85 million aquarium proposal passed the legislature. Chase says that money could have gone to so many better things. She says things like crisis intervention and immediate programs that provide addiction services to help fight the opioid crisis.
This is $85 million that you can take out of the bank and spend. But that wasn't the decision.
Furcano says if the programs aren't being funded by tax dollars, then other establishments could be resourceful.
We need funding for those projects, either through universities or hospital systems. And we need to make sure that every community has some kind of outreach capability.
Chase says the state will be giving out more money to help fight this epidemic, but adds that local government can always use more help from the state to fight this crisis.
We're continuing to dig into the story we broke yesterday of Vera House knowingly employing a level 2 sex offender to work with victims of abuse. Good evening, everyone. I'm Amanda Hall.
And I'm Megan Coleman. The nonprofit told Pastor Marcus Jackson disclosed his status prior to hiring and that they stand by their decision, despite parting ways with Jackson earlier this month. Vera House's co-executive director, Randy Bregman, explained the rationale by saying, in part, Jackson's crime was from 20 years ago.
No, I think what was concerning to us would be if we did a background check and something came back that was more recent or that he hadn't told us about.
Now, that was last night. Investigative reporter Mary Keeler learned Jackson was arrested in 2016, just 4 years prior to his job starting at Vera House. She's looking into that arrest for us tonight.
The Marion County Sheriff's Office in Florida arrested Marcus Jackson in March 2016. The Public Information Office provided us this arrest report detailing Jackson's failure to register as required. Documents we've obtained show in April of 2000, Jackson was convicted in Florida of, quote, unlawful sexual activity with certain minors. That required Jackson to register as a sex offender for life. The arrest report notes that Jackson signed a form indicating he understood what he needed to do as a registered sex offender in the state. According to Florida authorities, Jackson registered with Syracuse police in June of 2013. He gave them a permanent address in Syracuse to put on file and was required to notify the New York State Department of Criminal Justice of any change in address if he moved within 10 days. Marion County Sheriff's documents show they were tipped off in 2016 that Jackson was actually living in Florida and working as a pastor at a church. So they contacted Syracuse police and asked for an address check. Syracuse police found Jackson had been evicted from his home in November of 2015. Police say Jackson was arrested in Marion County in March of 2016 and told police he had moved there right before his mom passed in November and that he searched online and did not see requirements for registering in Florida. He told police he made a mistake. Marcus Jackson was arrested for failure to comply with the rules as a sex offender, and a spokesperson for Marion County confirms he spent March to September of 2016 at the Marion County Jail. Randy Bregman of Vera House told me in an email that Jackson disclosed this in his initial interview, and they accepted his explanation. In that same email, Bregman said she stands by her earlier statement that, quote, we do not regret hiring Marcus. She said our July 15th piece on Marcus's work prompted a new discussion on his role with Vera House.
There was reaction, I would say, to his interview that prompted some people to raise questions and push in. And we came to a mutual understanding with Marcus that for the interest of himself and the work he wanted to do and the interest of Vera House, that it made sense for us to have an agreeable separation at that time. But would we have released him from employment because of something from 20 years ago that we knew about? No, we would not.
I got in contact with Jackson this afternoon, but he wasn't interested in speaking with us at this point.